and Jamshedpur have won the Hero ISL. Hyderabad are the Hero Indian Super League champions.
And down in Cochin, and those curler fans, I mean, the hairs on the neck just stood straight up. And of course, we were there at the weekend again when they took on ATKMBs again. It was amazing. In Mumbai, they were setting off flares when Mumbai were coming into the stadium as well. Everywhere, Jamshedpur, even though it poured with rain and it was really, really wet conditions, the fans still came out. We've always said, and we said this for the past couple of years, football is nothing without the fans. Boy, oh boy, it's good that they're back.
Yeah, absolutely. Darren, what about you? What was your experience with the fans like?
I mean, of course, it's brilliant to have the fans back. You speak to any of the players, we'll obviously know from Hearts in a bit about how it's so important to have the fans at the stadium. You know, you need to feed off that energy as footballers. So I think it's great having them back in numbers. Every single venue so far, you've seen a packed stadium. So it's just great to have them back.
Mace looks awfully serious about having the fans back. Lighten up, Mace. It's a happy thing. The fans are back. Where's that smile?
I'm just doing my impression of our guest that's going to turn up in a little while.
So wait, that tells me that you do have a bit of a relationship with him as well. Let's waste no time in bringing in Peter Hartley, captain of Jamshedpur FC, to the Let's Football live show. Peter, so good to have you on the show. First of all, what do you have to say about that little shot that Mace has already taken at you before we even got things started?
Saying I'm too serious, huh? That's only on the pitch. I'm okay. I'm a nice guy off the pitch. I'm sure my teammates will vouch for that.
Thanks for joining us, Hearts. Thank you so much. How was training? I know it was a bit of a mad dash to join us for this show, but how's it going back in Jamshedpur?
Yeah, all good. Obviously, we train at different times at the moment. We've got an early kick-off against Mumbai on Saturday, so we generally train at the same time as we play.
Okay, guys, I just want to tell a little story I observed about Peter Hartley ahead of the first home game of the season. And Peter, you can let me know if I'm right on this one or not, because as soon as the team buses came in and before the players came out to warm up, there was a bit of a stroll that the players do on the field of play. So out comes Peter Hartley, checks the grass, kind of does a bit of a recce of everything, and goes straight to the corner flag, holds it up to see how strongly it's kind of embedded into the ground, and then just leaves. Right after that, just goes out. Peter, is this something you've been doing, through your whole career?
I can't get away with anything, can I? No, I wanted to check some. I wanted to check something. You'll see in due course. Obviously, if I get a goal, I just wanted to check something with regards to a corner flag. So it's a little surprise.
Well, Lord have mercy on those corner flags. And on that note, Peter, I want to throw it first of all to Mace, because he has a question coming up for you straight up. Mace, go for it.
Well, you don't know the questions, Hearts, and we all know that you shoot straight from the hip. So I think basically you've got to turn around and just address the last game that you played. You were in front by a couple of goals. I mean, what happened to lose it from that position?
Well, yeah, yourself, Mace, going off last season, it's very unlike us. We go 2-0 up in the games, near enough set in stone and done. I think there was a lot of things that came into account in the second half. Fatigue. The pitch was very heavy. I'm not making excuses. Odisha absolutely battered us second half. We couldn't get out of our own half. But we sat and we analysed the game after as a team and as individual blocks, defensive, midfield, attacking blocks with the manager. There's a lot of things that AD wants to do to improve us individually and as a team and to take us that next step forward. And I think we're still a little bit in transition, but we've got plenty of time to really, kickstart and get ready to go. But I just feel like we sort of got caught in two stools, to be honest, mate. Second half, 2-1 up, 2-1's a difficult result. You don't really know whether to go and get the third goal or whether to sit and protect the lead. And I think it was one of them situations what we'll learn from. But in the future, we obviously know we know what to do in that kind of situation. But fair play to Odisha. They smell blood and the finish is off. It was. I think if you play that game another 10 times, they won't score them two kind of goals in the last 4 or 5 minutes. But that's the nature of the beast. That's why we love football, mate. Because sometimes as a player, when you're on the pitch in that moment, you just can't explain what's happening. It just happens so fast in front of you. And sometimes you've just got to hold your hands up and say, that's football.
Darren, I was supposed to do the post-match interview after that game. I thought of getting Peter for that, but he just stormed straight to the dressing room, so I didn't dare stand next to him because he was rightly so annoyed because of the way those goals were conceded.
No, I'm glad you didn't, because you would have probably tried his goal celebration on you if you tried asking him that question.
Oh, come on. Darren, honestly, you've got the wrong impression of me, mate. I'm telling you. You've got the wrong impression of me.
just kidding, man. But anyways, talking about, we talk about last season under Owen Coyle. You guys were very compact defensively, very strong. And, the football wasn't pretty at times, but very effective. And I think that's important in football. You can't always play well. And how do you think the football has evolved this season under, I know it's early doors still, but how has it evolved under AD Boothryd?
It's massively evolved, mate. The way we want to play, the structure behind the way we play, the triggers with and without the ball. There's a lot of information. It takes time to adapt and improvise with things. But last season, we were unapologetic. We knew exactly what we were as a team, and we went and stuck to our strengths and rolled teams over. We didn't need to apologise to no one with the way we played. The results took care of themselves. And obviously, the managers came in, and the core of the team, apart from obviously Jordan Murray and Greg Stewart, have departed. But the core of the team stayed together. So the manager's got a really good mentality of a base to build on, and he's obviously implementing his own ideas within the team. And like everything does, everything takes time, especially in football with new fundamentals and principles and the way the manager wants to play these ideas. And we've had a good solid 7 weeks now. I do believe, like I've just said to Mace, if we'd have played Odisha another 9 times, we'd have probably run away with that game. And we got caught in two stools, and we live and learn by it.
I mean, you never want to shy away from anything, Harts, and you play with your heart on your sleeve. You wear your heart on the sleeve, and maybe comments as well with the heart on the sleeve, because at least you're honest. You responded to a tweet or a social media post that went out at the beginning of the season about playing football on the grass. I mean, normally we'd all turn a blind eye to it, but what prompted you to actually physically respond to that one? I mean, I'm curious to know.
This is a funny thing about social media, Miss, because you'll see, I was in Goa for 5 days in pre-season, and I sat down with Marcus for the best part of 45 minutes and had a really good interview with him. So I know he didn't take that the way that probably 95% of people seen it. We had a really good conversation in and out of the interview. When he stopped, we were still talking. And he's very football intelligent. I was quite surprised with the way he spoke and things. And, we had a good, honest conversation. And I think he understood what I meant by that after the conversation we'd had. So that's the reason I put that comment there. But me being a little bit naive, I didn't understand the amount of people it would attract to the conversation. So, sometimes these things happen, but I've got thick enough skin to deal with stuff like that. I've played hundreds of games, and, the only thing that you can affect is what happens on the pitch for me. So I'm sure Max understands what I meant by it, which is the most important thing, because it was replied to his tweet.
He did get 10,000 extra followers.
Yeah. Fair play.
But over there, just on that, Darren, isn't there something to be said about, in general, how Peter responded to that tweet? A lot of the experts also have had things to say about other teams, but perhaps not Jamshedpur FC. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, Hearts, I don't think you're going to like this one, but prior to the season, we all had to note down, a list of teams, probably the ones that we thought would be the League Shield winners, or probably the Hero ISL winners. And none of us chose Jamshedpur FC for this season. How do you react to that? How does that make you feel as a player, or as someone from the team?
Did any of you guys choose us last season?
I think Mace
No.
did. I think
No,
Mace,
At the beginning of the season.
Mace. I
top
think Mace
four.
had you guys for top 4.
Top
The
4.
playoffs,
Well,
yeah.
I think since this team's been established, I don't think anybody's really spoke about Jamshedpur pre-kickoff to any game. So, to be totally honest, it's nothing different for us. Albeit, I do understand the geography. A lot of people take into account with a lot of the travelling we have to do with away games and things, but that's no excuse. We've got to deal with that as a team and as a group of men and find a way around it. Obviously, we were successful last season, and now we've got a base to build on. You know, obviously, we all know success isn't a straight line from A to B, so there will be bumps and cracks in the road. But you know, we have the mentality within the team to definitely have a very successful season.
Oh, fair play, Hearts. Now, about your time in India so far. This is your 3rd season in the Hero ISL. Spent 2 seasons already, first outside the bio bubble. In an interview before the season started, you actually mentioned, in fact, it was the interview with Marcus where you mentioned that you wish you'd moved to India a lot earlier in your career. Why is that the case, and what is it exactly that you do enjoy about playing your football in India?
I really enjoy helping. I think I do it subconsciously as well, but I really enjoy helping the young boys in training. You know, even the boys that have come with us, the 4 or 5 boys that have joined the first team from the academy. And then obviously speaking to the boys that came in and like Sahil and players like that. And obviously we got Boris back fit, and just generally helping the players and the way they respond, the way they listen. You know, and I've never seen athletes work as hard. To be totally honest, you know, they definitely dedicate themselves to the craft. And I think from the minute I came here in 2020 to right now, the ISL as a whole, every single team has rapidly improved. Every single player, you know, foreigners and the Indian boys. So, you know, it's a credit to what the coaches are doing. It's a credit to what the ideas that coaches are implementing, and the players that the obviously taking the ideas on board and learning very quickly, which is, you know, 90% of the game is played in between your ears. So it's a credit to the boys that are starting to understand that football's played mentally.
Yeah, one thing that you said over there, Peter, stands out because you've played at the highest level in the UK, and you said that you've never seen athletes work that hard. Why do you think that's the case? According to you, because you've spent enough time here.
I just think it's a short season. You know, you only have 23 games if you're very fortunate. In the UK, you have 50 games, so you lose 1 game here is like losing 5 games in the UK. So every single moment, every single training session, and obviously, most importantly, every single game counts. So you see the boys really buying into that, and listen, when a new manager comes in, it gives everybody a boost. So you need to work harder, whether you're somebody like me, an experienced pro, or you're a young boy coming through. It doesn't matter. Everybody's on a blank page, and you've got to earn the right to play in the team. So I think that plays a massive part in obviously what's happening at the moment.
No, fair play, Peter. And on your away trip to Mumbai City FC, I'll throw it to Mace on that one because he has an interesting one lined up his sleeve for that. Mace, go for it.
Don't worry, it's not a sneaky one. I can see you laughing.
It's every time it goes to you, mate. I expect a little dagger to get
Come on, you know I'd never hammer you. Listen, obviously you talked about players coming in, the younger players and that, but going out, I mean, you've lost Greg Stewart, who was, you know, the best player of the league last season, the hero of the league. 1, what do you miss about playing with him? And 2, how are you going to stop him? Because obviously, as Suyash just mentioned, it's Mumbai up next. How are you going to bounce back?
So the first question was, what do I miss about Greg? Is that right, mate?
Yep.
Sorry, you broke up a bit there. Yeah, okay. So Greg's a winner, mate. There's no hiding from that. I found that out. I'll tell you a little story, and I hope Greg won't mind me saying this. The beginning of our season, as you know, wasn't quite great last year. We won a game. We might have drew a game, lost a game, won a game. Then we played Chennai in at Bambalim, and we were getting beat 1-0. I think it was at half time, and obviously Greg has said something to me in the first half, and I've retaliated. And then at half time in the dressing room, we've obviously come for each other, which is, you think, is a negative thing. But we're both fighting our own. It's difficult to explain, but we've ended up locking arms anyway. And this ended up being probably one of the best things that happened to our season, because that lit a fire in everyone's belly. I don't know whether the boys thought, Jesus, if it means this much to these two, then you know what I mean? You could see we were both winners, and after that game, I believe we went on to win 9 out of 10 of the next games. I think the only game we lost after that was Bengaluru in the normal season. So Greg's an absolute winner. He's a fantastic guy as well. He works a lot harder than he gets credit for without the ball. You know, he really puts a shift in every game for the team. How do we stop him? We got to stop whoever tries to give Greg the ball, to be honest. If I'm being totally honest, whoever's giving him the ball, we've got to stop. But listen, Greg's a great player. I played against him when he was at Rangers, at Ibrox and at Fair Park when I was at Motherwell. So I know a lot about him. I don't think we'll be next to each other too much during the game because Greg obviously plays a little bit of a free role. But yeah, I think the gaffer is astute enough to find a way to nullify Greg's threat, let's say, and keep it to a minimum for 95 minutes.
All right. So talking about great players and, you know, players like Greg Stewart, Hearts, who's probably the toughest player you've come up against in the Hero ISL so far? Who's the best player you've played with? And another one, I'm clubbing another question with that. Amongst the new signings this season, who's impressed you the most?
So the toughest player I played against in the Hero ISL was Jordan Murray, the Kerala Blasters. As soon as I walked off that pitch, I said straight to Owen Coyle, he's the hardest centre forward I've played against. He didn't give me a single minute on the ball. I believe they won the game 3-1. And it was, hand on heart, the worst game I've had so far in my ISL career against him. And he caused me an absolute nightmare. The best player I've played with, do you mean defensively, partnership, or do you mean as a whole in my team?
You can choose either way. Your pick.
I think I'm going to go towards Greg and obviously Daniel Chima. Greg Stewart, it speaks for himself. You know, he's raised 10 goals, 10 assists last season. But the unsung hero for me was when we signed Daniel Chima. You know, he took a lot of load and a lot of pressure off Greg to go and express himself. Chima is a fantastic player. His raw strength is, you know, you've just got to respect when he has a ball at his feet because you can't physically get around him. He's a fantastic human being as well. He works really hard for the team. He's very humble. And you see, he's found his feet already this season, you know, scoring against Odisha. So hopefully that's his first of many this year. I'm sorry, Darren, what was your third question?
The last one is, amongst the new signings this season, all through the league, who do you think has impressed you the most?
Throughout the league?
Yeah.
I think obviously the boy from Kerala who came off the bench and scored 2 and then scored against ATKMBs. I didn't believe how young he was. I believe he's only 24-year-old and he's on loan. So, you know, he's got a very bright future ahead of him. I think that's a fantastic signing for Kerala. He can play in multiple positions. He can play in the 10 or in midfield, in the 8 or even the 6. You know, he's got the physical attributes to play in front of the back 4 as well. So I think he's going to be a real good signing for Kerala. Obviously, we've signed a few good players. Obviously, we've got Jet, we've got Wellington coming back to the ISL. You know about Wellington. He's technically fantastic. J. Emmanuel Thomas his resume speaks for itself. He's got a real eye for goal. And we've signed Harry Sawyer. I believe I'm actually the smallest foreigner on our team now. Everybody is 6'6". It's crazy, man. But yeah, listen, obviously I believe, Darren, that I like the look of the guy at Kerala, but we've obviously got players that have yet to express themselves in ISL through the limit again.
Yeah, you know, when Peter Hartley says that there's a player who he found physically hard to come against, like you mentioned, Chima, you know that player is a real physical presence. And I think many people will be surprised by Jordan Murray's choice as well. I mean, I personally, because he's not someone who's spoken off very often, but from a defender's point of view, of course, it's fascinating to hear that from you, Peter. So noted on that one. Just want to come back now. You mentioned the intensity of how the Hero ISL is sort of, is there all the time. But now with the games moving back to a weekend-centric format, and you have that time now to rest and recuperate, how are you enjoying that now? Because you haven't had an away trip yet, but do you think it's beneficial to the players in general?
Not when you get beat 3-2, mate. You just want to play again 3 days later. We've obviously had a 11-day break now, so it's been quite difficult. But yeah, obviously it's gonna help recovery. We've got quite a tough patch end of October. I believe we play North East at home, then 4 days later we play Gora away. So that'll be quite a tough run. But I actually enjoy the game, the train, recover, play, recover, train, play kind of format. But this is my first time experience different states, different humidities, different stadiums, and to have the fans back is an absolute joy. So it's going to be a really exciting season. I believe we'll be there or thereabouts without a doubt. We've got too much quality, and our mentality as a team, as a group of boys, is too strong to roll over like obviously we did against Odisha. So it's a long season, but I think it'll be an enjoyable one, mate.
No, and on that note, Peter, just lastly, you mentioned the fans. A word for the Jamshedpur FC fans, because for a large part of the last game, in the build-up to it at least, we didn't know if we'd have a game or not, but they stayed on, they braved the rain, and they cheered for you throughout the game. So a word for them, and what's your message to them for the rest of the season?
Yeah, listen, they were absolutely fantastic. I couldn't believe how loud they were. It was a joy. I just wish we could have brought that shield home in front of the fans last season. But, we've got an opportunity to do it again, along with the ISL trophy. Just stay behind the team, keep believing in us. It's a process at the moment, but I believe we're nearly there. We're literally there or thereabouts. So we take it a game at a time. We go to Mumbai with full intention to take in 3 points, as we do every game. So, get right behind the boys, because we definitely felt you without you last season. So I think you'll be like a 12th man this year.
Well, that's well spoken, Peter. Well, on behalf of Mace, Darren, and myself, we thank you for joining the Let's Football live show. It's been a nice chat, and honest as expected, typically from you. And here's hoping you have an enjoyable away trip to Mumbai City FC, which is going to be your first away trip in the Hero ISL.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that.
We'll see you around on the pitch, Peter. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers, Pete.
Right, then that was Peter Hartley. Mace, he had a bit of a jibe for you here or there. Darren, he didn't spare you as well, but that's something we'd expect from Peter Hartley, wouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. He's not going to mess about. He's just going to be honest, and that's what you get. He plays the same way. He wears his heart on his sleeve. No nonsense. And if he go for you. You know that. But that was very interesting what he said, and there's a lot of respect for what he said there with that Greg Stewart thing, that little incident. And it sometimes takes a spark to galvanise the team. And I tell you something, he's absolutely spot on. That little incident is what pulled Jamshedpur all together. And fair play to them. Fair play to them.
Yeah. Talking about the spark to galvanise teams, let's talk about East Bengal FC now, guys. 2 games, they haven't got a point on board yet. Stephen Constantine was expected to come in and sort of change things, but where do you think it's gone wrong for East Bengal, Mace, so far?
Team selection. I don't think he's got it quite right, particularly in the fullback areas. Listen, we see things, we look at things, we know that the players that he has at his disposal. But again, I think Stephen Constantine is not a million miles away from what he wants with his 11. But for me, I think he's got it completely wrong in those first 2 games with the inclusion of Sumit Passy in that right-hand side and the right-back role. I thought it was wrong. I think Stephen realises that because, let's give him credit, he changed it at half-time straight away. Then the second half, they came out, they fought, and they looked good. Now, if he can galvanise that starting 11 and put it all together, they could upset and cause a few problems this year to teams.
Mace, do you think that criticism of Sumit Passy, Darren, I'll just come to you shortly, because Mace, you mentioned that point about Sumit Passy. Do you think the criticism of Sumit Passy so far has been fair? Stephen Constantine actually responded to that and said that he thinks that he's been unfairly criticised, but what's your take on that?
Well, why did he take him off at half-time then? That's the first thing, right? Yeah. Because you've got to look at it. It didn't work. So he's wrong. They've lost both the games, right? They haven't got the points on the board. So he thought and identified that in the first game because he did exactly the same. And in the second game, because he changed the formation, started with a 3, then he went to a 4 in the first game. The second game, he's turned around, he's gone with a back 4. So he knows that there's an error and an issue there. Listen, he knows and understands Sumit Passy from years gone by when he was the head Indian coach. He knows what he can get out of him. And sometimes coaches do that with certain players. They want them in the team. But if the balance doesn't work, it doesn't work. And if it worked, everyone would be going like this, applaud him, very, very well done. It just didn't work. And that's why I think he was brave enough and bold enough. It's not Sumit Passy's fault. You asked Darren, I'm going to play you next week in one of the teams and I'm putting you in goal. Are you all right with that? Yeah, of course he is. Because all you want to do is play football. So I don't blame Summit Passy. But at least Stephen Constantine saw that mistake, saw the error, changed it at half-time, and they looked a different side in that second half.
Darren, you want to get in on that?
Yeah, I have to agree with Mace on this in terms of the Sumit Pasi bit, which is something I don't understand. He did that in the Durand Cup as well, playing him on the right wing, played him as a striker. And he made a lot of mistakes, missed a lot of chances. Every time he got the ball, you could hear the moans from the fans. They weren't happy about him lasting that long in the game. He ended up playing, 80 minutes, 85 minutes, and it wasn't working out, but he didn't make those changes. But again, like Mace mentioned, credit to him in the last game where he got him off at halftime. And you have to read it. If it's not working out, you've got to make those changes. I think he's not got his best 11 either. He's making too many changes, chopping and changing, not just the personnel, but the formation as well. He started off with he's done a back three, he's done a back four. Also, the form of Ivan Gonzalez, I think that's a major problem for East Bengal at the moment. He's been, you look for the last couple of seasons, one of the most consistent defenders in the Hero ISL. But the last two games for East Bengal, I don't think he's been playing all that well. Again, the over-reliance on Clayton Silva up front. I think without Clayton Silva, I don't see where the goals are going to come from for East Bengal. I think they're going to struggle that way. So they need to find a way to play as a unit together. They need players to start chipping in with, assists and goals as well. They need the Indian players to step up. I think Suhair needs to get more involved. Aniket Jadhav needs to start getting more game time. That's the only way I can see East Bengal doing well. Because when you're playing for a club like East Bengal, there's always going to be pressure every single game. A draw is not enough. You have to win every game. Especially when you're playing at home, you've got 15, 20 minutes. If it's not working out for you, you can hear the frustration of the fans. So there is going to be pressure, but it's all about how they handle that pressure, and they have to start winning games as soon as possible.
Yeah, and Darren, another team facing the pressure is Northeast United FC as well. Again, on the same grounds as East Bengal FC, they haven't got a point to their name yet. But do you feel like they've encouraged their fans, at least in the first couple of games that they've played?
Well, definitely. If you look at the first game against BFC, I thought they were brilliant. Northeast United, a bit unlucky to not come away with anything. But you could see the kind of football that they were playing. Of course, they've gotten some quality players as well. I think Gastanaga in the middle of the park. Of course, Romain Philippatu is another brilliant player. But I think they're missing that striker who's going to probably score them, 10 goals a season. Matt Derbyshire is good. I kind of like him. You can see he's got that movement. He tries to get involved, but they miss somebody who can probably come off the bench and change the game. They don't have that player right now. They've signed Sylvester, another very good striker. I hear he's got a great CV. He'll probably be involved this week. You never know. So yeah, they need to start. But Northeast, they look like a good side. They can play football. I think the likes of Romain and Gastanaga, especially in the middle of the park, you can see them combining really, really well. I think Jitin MS has shown glimpses as well that he's a quality player, another young player. So I think if they can start just combining well in that final third, because they look like a side who will probably concede goals in most games. So if they can't outscore their opponents, they're going to have a little bit of a...
So they're not good enough then, that's what you're saying, Darren, because if they're a side that look like they're going to concede, they've only got a half bit of a chance here or there with the strikers going forwards. They're not good enough. I mean, what does he do to change things?
Well, he's got to start working on I think defensively, because they were torn apart against Hyderabad FC. You could see once they conceded a goal, I mean, they were a completely different side to that first game. The first game against BFC, they kept chasing, kept knocking on the doors, but you didn't see that against Hyderabad. Probably the mentality, because the players were the same. It was just on that day, or they were just outplayed, and they were against Hyderabad. So they realize that they have to start picking up points, especially early on in the season, before teams settle down really. You have to start getting those points. But there is quality in that side. I'm not saying that they're going to be pushovers. It's just a matter of getting those results and building some sort of momentum.
Yeah. Mace, is there an over-reliance on the foreign contingent at Northeast United FC, do you think?
Yes. I don't think they've recruited well at all. I think they've lost too many good players as well over the years. I think they could have got Fede Gallego back. I think he would have given them something going forwards and had a little bit of a spark. I do agree with Darren. I like Philippa too. I think that he's got a little bit of quality. He can bring something to them. But the big question is the depth of the squad. Have they got enough to compete week in, week out? We talked and we spoke on the shows about the importance of the substitutions that were made, particularly in week one, after the first 6-7 games, and how critical the subs coming on and making an impact were. I agree with Darren. That second half performance against Bengaluru was the best we saw Northeast play. But they don't have enough to be able to do that all the time. And I think that's where they're going to struggle this season.
No. All right. Moving on from Northeastern FC, guys. Now we move on to both ATK Mohun Bagan and Kerala Blasters FC, especially in that last game. We were discussing this, how Kerala Blasters in the first 20 minutes against ATK Mohun Bagan seemed to play such silky football, but then it all kind of seemed to go downhill for them after that. What do you think the reason behind such an alarming turnaround was? ATK Mohun Bagan winning the game 5-2. Was it just down to Kerala Blasters, or did ATK Mohun Bagan sort of have a part to play in that as well?
No, I think you look at the game and let's be honest, right? That's the most one-sided 20 minutes of football I've ever seen in the 8 seasons I've been here, right? It was unbelievable. You just thought they were going to score every time they went through. But what happened is ATK Mohun Bagan, they started to grind away. Juan Fernando said they didn't even turn on. He said they were still in Calcutta in the first 20 minutes, which they were. They were absolutely awful. But he's tried to get the players to buy into an ethos and a philosophy of how he wants to play. Sometimes when it goes against you like that opening 20 minutes and you're being pounded, you don't believe, but then you need that little bit of brilliance and you need that little bit of quality. That is what ATK Mohun Bagan have, because they've signed players that can do the business. Yoni Kauko, Bumu, Petratos, Liston, Manvir, Ashish. I mean, the list is endless. They are on paper. It's a good job Hart's gone. Don't tell him. On paper, they are, possibly the strongest team. But he's got to pick 11 that can get a result. So the players and the changes that he made in that second game, they didn't get it to start with that first 15, 20 minutes. The second that they got it, bang, they clicked. But I'll tell you this, in the second half, when Kerala Blasters missed that opportunity, which could have made it 3-3, if that had gone in, where it was absolutely crazy, they'd have won the game. Kerala would have won the game, 100%. But it was just one of those days. Footballing gods weren't with Kerala Blasters, but I mean, ATK Mohun Bagan showed some real quality with their finishes and their goals in that game.
Yeah, see, Darren, they had the entire stadium behind them. Did Kerala Blasters FC, right? Would it be fair to say that it was also slightly may have been an issue of how they sort of approach the rest of the game after the first 20 minute?
No,
mentally.
Again, if you just look at the first 20 minutes, they could have probably got a couple of goals, buried the game right then and there. I mean, what a start. Like Mace mentioned, I don't think I've ever seen such a one-sided first sort of 20 minutes ever. They just pegged them back in their own half, probably in their own penalty box, creating chance after chance, using all, they have the fans behind them, and they're just playing some fascinating football. I mean, it was amazing to watch. But that's the thing about being just a goal down. When you're just a goal down, there's always a chance to get back into the game. And ATK Mohun Bagan were patient. And like Mace mentioned, when you have quality in the side, when you've got quality, not just in that 11, you've got quality on the bench as well, there's always that moment where you can always come back in the game. And just that's what ATK Mohun Bagan did. I mean, just simple passes, movement, when you got the likes of Hugo Bumu and Yoni Kauko combining and things like that, you can always get back into the game. The second half as well, I thought Kerala Blasters they were playing well. It wasn't like they won, but ATK Mohun Bagan just chose those right moments. They nicked the ball in midfield, that transition. I think they're becoming one of the sides who become really good at counter-attacking football. If you look at the kind of players that they've had, they're using all that pace with Liston and Ashik bombing up front. Yoni Kauko as well. I think he's somebody who's getting in the box a lot more. And Petratos, I think he's brilliant. He's one of those players, as soon as he gets on the ball, he's just waiting for players to make those runs, and he's looking to pick those passes. And they were phenomenal in that second half. ATK Mohun Bagan, credit to them for. It's not an easy place to go to Kochi. Mace will probably tell you that because he's done a few of the games as well. And, to come off that sort of a game as a result in such fashion is just brilliant for ATK Mohun Bagan.
Mace, we saw a wry smile over there. Reason for that?
The counter-attacking team. How can you say they're a counter-attacking team? They're the full team. You look at if they need to strengthen in one position, they go and strengthen. They're ain't a counter-attacking team. That's one of the best teams in the league. It's as simple as that. On paper, bang, 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 bang. Names are there. The biggest problem we had, and I said this before the season, and whether you agree or not, it's up to Fernando to pick that starting 11. If he picks the right 11 for each game, they will be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. He got it wrong in the first game. Starting to get it right now, though. They got it right after that 20 minutes.
I've got to ask you this, Mace. Do you think they are missing a number 9? Because I think they are. Are they still missing a focal point, a number 9, like a Roy Krishna that they had last season? What do you
Good point. It's a very good point. And you may say no because they put 5 in at the weekend, but I think it's still a little bit too early. I personally think they do need a focal point. I agree with you on that one, Darren. I didn't understand or couldn't believe that Krishna would leave the club the way that he did and has gone to Bengaluru. But I felt sure and positive they were going to bring in a number 9. I think if they have that, they've got the whole complete set. They've got the squad. They've got everything. But, you know, if they're going to score 5 goals with a false 9, I don't think they're going to mind too much. And I don't think that the Mariners are going to be too upset about that either. So, you know, it's early in the season, yes. But if they do get an injury or 2 here or there, yeah, it's possible that the goals could possibly dry up.
Well, I've got a question of my own over there, Mace, because you seem to kind of, not agree with Darren when he called them a counter-attacking team. Just the mere mention of a team being counter-attacking, do you feel it always sort of then implies that they're not good enough to play possession-based football? Because they could be a counter-attacking team and still be really good. I mean, why is there this notion attached in football where you call someone a counter-attacking team and then automatically sort of assume that that's a dig on how they can't play in another way?
No, a counter-attacking team is just basically you're under the cosh, you're under pressure, you've got to turn around and hit quickly to go forwards. That's what a counter-attacking team is. ATKMBs began on like that. They'll keep the ball at the back for 5 hours if you want. So that's not a counter-attacking team because they've got possession of the ball. They're moving the ball. They're taking their time to go through. What they're doing is they're picking the key moments to make those forward passes, to make those forward runs. And that's not counter-attacking. That's just being dynamic when that situation occurs. Counter-attacking is a set play. The goalkeeper catches it, launches it, throws it out. They come up, bang, goal. Or you've been attacking, as a challenge comes in, all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3 passes, it's a goal. I'm sorry, ATKMBs don't play like that. Juan Fernando doesn't have that philosophy. He would rather keep the ball, pass it and play it around at the back. And then when the time is right, bang, inject.
No, but the thing is, when I said counter-attacking was that they had a couple of moves when they did counter-attack. They were in their own half defending when they nicked the ball in midfield. The one, I think, the Jackson missed pass when they got that ball. They were just quick to counter-attack, which is one. It's good to have in your arsenal as a team because if you see ATK Mohun Bagan, when they've got possession and a team is sitting back and defending, I think they're missing that focal point that we talk about, a number 9, is when teams sit back and defend, then they find it a bit difficult because they don't have too many midfield runners. So I think this is an added bonus for them if they are defending in their own half and they win the ball. They've got players who can, get up the field really quick in the likes of Manveer or an Ashik or a Liston. So I think it's always good to have pacey players up front.
Yeah, they've got Yoni Kalko as well that will push on. They've got Boomer driving. You say they've got players in the middle of the park. Those are players that go and link up and join up. So they've got more than enough quality. Yeah, every side is going to be a counter-attacking side. You're going to have an instance or 2 or 3 in a game. But from an actual style of play, it's not a negative. It's not a negative against the team. We've seen teams before just... Peter Hartley mentioned it about Jamshedpur. We soak it up, bang, we scored a goal. That was the way that Owen Coyle played when they won a goal or 2 up. He said, you wouldn't have seen us lose 2 goals, last season because they soaked, they'd hit on the counter-attack and they kill a game. So it wasn't, it's not a negative, it's just something that's slightly different.
Yeah, no, we'll leave the rest of that conversation into the comment section and the fans who I'm sure will have their opinion on what's just transpired as well. But lastly, guys, let's move on to the last thing we're going to discuss is Bengaluru FC, right? Now, with them winning the Durand Cup and with them signing Roy Krishna, are both of you surprised that their attack hasn't clicked so far in the way that one would have expected it to? Mace, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, it's an intriguing one. It really is. I mean, the opportunities and the chances they create haven't been great. I think it's an enigma. I think that Simon Grayson's got an enigma. He's played with the 2 foreign players at the back, and I think what that's done is it's stifled going forwards a little bit more. Now, the rationale and the thought process behind that is you've got Javi in the squad that can pull strings and create things. So I think a decision has to be made by Simon Grayson if they want to beat a defensive team and soak up pressure and hit on the counter-attack. That's a perfect example. Or do they want to turn around and be a little bit more expansive and have Javi playing and shuffle that front line around a little bit? So, I think there's bold and big decisions that need to be made for BFC this season. And I know Simon Grayson is strong enough to make them. The question is which way will he go? We'll have to wait until the next game to find out.
Yeah, Darren, your former team, you want to get a word on that?
Yeah, because you know what, I watched them closely for the Durand Cup, and he tried Roy Krishna and Shiva Shakti. He tried Chetri and Roy Krishna, Chetri and Shiva Shakti. He tried different combinations, but only in the final was when he tried all three together, and that's when they played their best football, BFC, and they won the Durand Cup, which was great. And I had an opportunity to speak to Simon Grayson before the season started, and I was like, I mentioned that to him. I said, you guys played the best football when you had Shiva Shakti, Roy Krishna, and Chetri playing all. You had all three up front. So I said, is that the front three you're looking for this season? Are you going to stick with that? But then he turned around and asked me a question: how do I include Javi in all of this? So that was his reply. So now, if you look at it, I think they're struggling without Javi. I think that they're missing a key attacking midfielder. Somebody who's going to create chances. Somebody's going, he's come off the bench in the games, not got enough of time to actually have an impact on the games. But for me, if you look at it right now, like Mace mentioned, I think they've got to sacrifice a foreigner in one of the positions, get Javi in with Roy Krishna up front, or it could be Chetri, it could be Shiva Shakti as well. But I think Javi is going to be key if they want to start scoring goals, because they look like a side who are going to be defensively pretty strong. They look like a side who are not going to concede too many goals. It's just that scoring goals could be a problem for them. So for me, Javi needs to start for this side.
And then if Javi starts, then Mace, who do they drop then?
Well, it's one of the back two, isn't it? So it's probably Costa. So you'd have Janovic in there, I think. So, it's Costa that misses out. Parrott came on as a sub, and, he can slot in there as well. So they can play 3, 4. He can do what he wants at the back then, but that just releases that freedom a little bit further forwards for Javi to play. So you've got to sacrifice your centre-back because you need Ramirez in there. You need the spine to the team. So you've got to change one of the centre-backs.
Yeah, we'll see how the situation develops over the course of the next few weeks, guys. It's been a fascinating chat, both with Peter Hartley and on the topics that we've covered. After that, quickly, gentlemen, 30 seconds each. What are the fixtures that you're looking forward to the most in the coming game week? Mace, you first.
I'm actually really, really, really looking forward to East Bengal's game. And the reason is the two sides have been struggling. It's an opportunity for either side now to get themselves that bit of confidence boosting win, and then try to kickstart their season. I don't think either side is a million miles away from doing that, but which one will it be?
Which one will it be indeed? Darren, over to you.
Yeah, I know every game this season is so tight. I think every team is so much stronger than last season, so it's so close to call each game. But one game that I'm looking forward to is a Super Sunday one between Odisha FC and Kerala Blasters. I think Odisha FC are back at the Kalinga Stadium finally. Both sides, you know what they're all about. Attacking football, very open. It's going to be an open game, and they've lost the previous game, so it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back from that one. So Odisha and Kerala Blasters for me.
Well, absolutely. And a lot of away fans expected for that fixture, as well, as will be the case wherever Kerala Blasters FC do play. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time on another edition of the Let's Football live show. It's been a fascinating chat, like I said before. And to everyone who tuned in, thank you so much. We'll be doing this every week, like we said, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. So until then, from myself, Mace, and Darren, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Take good care of yourself.
And Jamshedpur have won the Hero ISL.